Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. My name is Melanie Martin. I'm the Director of Dental Hygiene Practice for the Canadian Dental Hygienists Association, and I'm delighted to be your host and moderator for today's discussion. Thank you for joining us. I'm here today with Brian Gomes, President and CEO of BMS Canada Risk Services, specialist insurance brokerage that works exclusively with CDH and more than 70 associations and member-driven organizations across the country. BMS continues to work closely with its various partners and stakeholders, including CDH, particularly during this time to bring members information in relation to COVID-19 and the CDH Liability Insurance Program. We have come together today to provide you with an overview of insurance coverage in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. Specifically, we're going to be talking about policies purchased by CDH members, including business interruption, commercial general liability, and professional liability. Brian will provide an introduction followed by a series of questions and answers. Hi, Brian. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Melanie, and thank you to all the members joining today's session for your time during what is very much an unprecedented and ever-evolving situation. It seems that every moment there are new circumstances arising and questions being posed to both us and widely to the insurance industry that we've never faced before. There are definitions and policy wordings that will be challenged in ways they have never been, through claims being put forward and challenged in courts. We also expect to see new precedents being set as we go forward. Our volume in the past week has exceeded what we receive on average in a month in both emails and calls. So we very much appreciate your inquiries and also your patience during this time as we actively work to obtain and share as much information as possible. We are working around the clock to review and challenge policy wordings set forth by insurers and the current definitions across a range of policies and provide this to you. But as we pose new questions and seek further clarification from your insurers, the response time is being delayed given the nature of COVID-19 and the multitude of positions taken in conjunction with the sheer volume of queries being sent in. We are also engaging with our legal partners such as Gomes and your association to provide timely content and value in moments of dire need. We have created a more formal position statement with CDH that has been shared with members to provide further insight and feedback on key coverage areas, including business interruption, professional liability, and commercial general liability. We strongly encourage you to read this, which can be found on the CDH website. Because the situation is so fluid, unfortunately, we are unable to provide definitive answers on coverage, which will ultimately play themselves out as claims and cases arise. We will, however, provide our interpretation on a general basis to a variety of areas that dental hygienists and other health professionals are seeking feedback. Today's session will provide more context and detail as it relates to some of the coverages purchased through the CDH insurance program based on what we know today. As new circumstances evolve, we continue to create further resources to bring you this information. We also strongly recommend you frequently visit your college's website as new details come to light. While we continue to review policy wordings and challenge definitions to try to identify new potential avenues for coverage, as the broker, BMS does not adjudicate or determine claims. That's the responsibility of the insurer. As a policyholder, you have a right to submit a claim, which will be assessed on its own merit based on the specific facts and circumstances of the situation. Please note that we will advocate on your behalf individually and collectively as best we can in a collaborative way with both your association and with our legal support. We are monitoring the number of claims being submitted and will be reviewing the insurer's responses as they are formulated. We anticipate the insurer for the CDH business package, Ecclesiastical, will release more formal information in relation to filing business interruption claims next week. We're starting to see more and more insurers who may be offering some coverage in this circumstance release portals and designated channels to submit these claims. As new questions are brought forward and circumstances evolve, we will provide further resources in collaboration with CDH. please continue to monitor their website for the latest information. We will now address some of the most commonly asked questions from members in the past week. I'm going to start with business interruption coverage. If you currently purchase a business clinic package through the CDH A program, this applies to you. So Melanie, please feel free to put forward any questions, and I'll do my best to answer those.
Thank you, Brian. Our first question is, what is business interruption coverage?
I can provide you with some information both on what is business interruption and specifically how this is applied in the CDH A member policy, and to give members some guidance on whether they may have a circumstance that constitutes putting forward a claim. I will also provide some context as it relates, obviously, to COVID-19. Business interruption and business income coverage is often included in a commercial property policy, such as the business package through CDH A. And I think it's worth noting that this coverage is intended and is attached to a property policy instead of a loss of income related policy. This provides coverage for direct physical loss or damage to the insured property caused by a specific loss, most commonly fires and storms. And these are referred to as insured perils. In this type of scenario, when a business's property suffers physical damage, the business is no longer able to operate normally, and the insurer, as a result, will pay for loss of business income and or extra expenses incurred during this period. And this is what is referred to as business interruption coverage within a property policy, and is very much the coverage that is in place within the CDH A program. What is less common is what businesses are facing right now, which is the actual or potential closure due to the spread of COVID-19. Most property policies have an absolute virus or bacteria exclusion in them, which states that losses caused directly or indirectly by a virus are excluded from coverage, including a business interruption related coverage. In rare circumstances, some policies do write back in limited forms virus-related coverage, but they're all subject to certain requirements and provisions within the policy. And they all differ from insurer to insurer. For example, some insurance companies who provide this coverage require that civil authority must have mandated building closures for coverage to respond, where others merely state that if a civil authority sends an advisory that a building should close, it would warrant a trigger for coverage. Now I'll speak a little bit more directly about the CDH A Package Policy. The CDH A Package Policy, insured again by Ecclesiastical, is one of those policies that does provide an element of infectious disease extension under the business interruption endorsement. This is again under certain criteria. And within the coverage statement that has been developed and is posted, the actual wording is attached to that as well. Some of the key elements of information related to the conditions for this coverage to be provided are as follows. However, again, before I do so, and as noted prior, each claim is really assessed on its own circumstance and merit. And at this overview is to provide you more information about the wording in general and how it operates for CDH A members. Outlined in the policy wording, coverage is provided for an occurrence at the insured's premises, subject to a 3-month indemnity period and a limit of $100,000. For coverage to be provided, conditions set out in the wording must be met. The main and central consideration in the CDH A wording is that a claim arises directly from the necessary interruption or interference of operations at the insured's business or premises due to a human infectious or contagious disease that is manifested by a person while at the premises, which then causes restrictions to the use of the premises on the order or advice of a civilian authority. So again, to provide that in maybe some more layman terms, essentially, there has to have been a human with COVID-19 or proof that COVID-19 was ultimately at the premises and it was manifested by a person while at the premises, which would result in coverage to be provided given advice has already been rendered by the civilian authority to close premises in these circumstances. This is a central component of the policy to review and help assess whether you may have a claim. It's also important to note that for businesses open today, that circumstance may not yet have arisen, or it may arise in the future. And so this is very much an ongoing circumstance in relation to this coverage. There's also a lot about COVID-19 that we don't know, including how insurers will trace back where there has been transmission of the virus and what circumstances. And again, this will all kind of play itself out as time evolves. In the event that the condition noted is met, coverage may be afforded for items such as loss of revenue and rental costs. Again, there is some wording that I would suggest members review, but again, this is the kind of main central component of coverage. There are two notable exclusions which are outlined again in that position statement. As noted extensively in the media this week, coverage for pandemics is not common in Canada. Most business interruption policies do not offer coverage for business interruption due to a pandemic such as COVID-19. However, COVID-19, as I've noted, is like nothing we've seen before, and definitions found in insurance policies will certainly be challenged. The government is also in contact with Canadian insurers on this issue, and there is news coming out daily in terms of insurers' response. There are already examples being made which have the potential to set significant new precedent. For example, earlier this week, there was a lawsuit filed by a restaurant chain where the suit argued that COVID-19 pandemic is worsened by the fact that the fatal virus infects and stays on the surface of objects or materials for up to 28 days. With the angle here that because the virus is relatively long-lasting, there is a difference in that it does cause direct physical loss, and as a result, there would need to be remediation and so on, and could trigger other elements of business interruption policies. And this is just an example of what is likely to be many cases arising out of this particular coverage. And we will continue to monitor the situation and share this information with you as it comes to light. We are your advocate between the insured member and the insurer, and we'll do our best to apply these circumstances. As noted, for insured CDH member, a claim must arise where there is no requirement for physical damage. So there is, in this circumstance, there is no requirement for physical damage, but there must be a necessary interruption of operations at the premises, again, as noted, due to a human infectious or contagious disease that has been manifested by a person while at the premises, which causes restrictions on the use of the premises on the order or advice of a civilian authority. And that is really the most key element of the policy wording that will identify the likelihood of claims being afforded or not under the CDH A policy. If no one has been at your premises with COVID-19, it is unlikely that there will be a successful claim in relation to business interruption. But again, at present, there are asymptomatic patients. There are many, many unknown circumstances. If you suspect someone who has been on your premises has had COVID-19, there is a more increased potential for a successful claim if other conditions are also met, applicable to the wording. Please note that this is general information, and we're doing our best to provide this to you without knowing that each claim has to be assessed based on its individual facts. If you believe you do have a claim, the information on how to submit is included within the position statement, which is available on the CDHA website. We understand and recognize the significant impact that restrictions related to COVID-19 are having on small businesses, including CDHA members whose independent practice owners, and the evolving challenges that occur with this. And we will do everything possible to advocate now and in the months to come. I hope, Melanie, that provides some insight into the specifics of the CDHA policy with respect to business interruption, and also understanding how this policy works in general.
Thanks, Brian. That was a very thorough and helpful response. Thank you very much. The next question is, if I infect a patient without knowing I have COVID-19 while rendering care and am sued, will my liability insurance protect me?
So now we are pivoting from the kind of business package policy, which some but not all members purchase, to the professional liability policy, which all members secure as a part of their membership with CDH A. And in this circumstance, a potential claim, given the transmission would have occurred while rendering professional care, could be something that would be claimable under the professional liability policy. This is a question that many professionals are asking due to the nature of services they provide. And the clients we work with in Canada are a broad range of different healthcare disciplines, and obviously each have their own unique set of circumstances. We are working closely with your professional liability insurer, who is Intact Insurance, no BEX Insurance, to secure more specific detail and pose more questions that are arising around this. Upon our review of the policy wording and the position that we have taken is that there are no specific exclusions related to transmission of a virus or disease from the insured during the rendering of their professional services, with the exception being circumstances involving alleged or actual abuse. However, there are exclusions in these wordings, including injury caused by the insured or by any of the insured's employees in violation with a law or ordinance. And so please pay close attention to your college communication in the event that your college issues restrictions or directives in the delivery of services outside of urgent patient care. And this is an option, this is an element of communication that we will be providing more information on with respect to colleges issuing restrictions and directives versus recommendations, which we feel to be very important as it relates to your professional liability coverage. Also, there must be a proof of negligence. So one must prove that the member was negligent in the delivery of care for a successful outcome in having a bodily injury case put forward in front of the courts. So I hope that provides a bit of help in relation to the insurance coverage that you have in place in the event that action is taken against you regarding the transmission of COVID-19 while rendering professional care within your scope of practice.
Thanks. Brian, is there any other coverage in my CDHA insurance program that could respond to a claim related to COVID-19?
There is another piece of coverage for those members who have purchased the general liability coverage. A general liability is also purchased as a part of that kind of clinic package that's in place. And general liability is, slip and fall insurance. So essentially, it provides protection against third-party bodily injury and property damage claims as it relates to would be against the clinic owner or the member who has purchased this policy. The definition of bodily injury includes disease and could, in limited circumstances, trigger coverage in relation to COVID-19. So an example of this could be if there were a family member of a patient or a patient that enters a practice, is not rendering, is not receiving professional services at the time, perhaps they're in the waiting room. COVID-19 is transmitted to them, and they would make an allegation or put forward a claim that the clinic was negligent in not providing, the appropriate standard of care, perhaps in sanitizing the clinic environment, and as a result of that, a claim did occur. So there must be negligence in this circumstance for a potential claim to respond. With all of that said, and the nuance and differences as it relates to COVID-19, there is a pollution exclusion across all general liability policies, and it's anticipated that insurers may invoke this exclusion to contest potential claims in these scenarios. So arguing essentially that within the pollution exclusion, COVID-19, the transmission of COVID-19 by being on a surface or something along those lines is excluded. And this is something that we believe will be heavily contested again in the legal and court setting. So I hope that provides some information in terms of the 3 different policies and ways in which we've identified where coverage may respond within the CDHA comprehensive program, which we feel to be one of the stronger insurance packages available in the insurance market, particularly in relation to the circumstance that we're in today.
Thank you for answering questions, Brian. Do you have any closing remarks?
I think, again, as I had kind of noted prior, we understand that the colleges who are doing a very difficult task in the midst of the volume that's coming in, ensuring public safety and directives from health authorities, are issuing recommendations and perhaps directives in the circumstance limiting care to urgent care settings only. And we are currently reviewing this with insurers in relation to simply to your professional liability insurance and its response in the event that care is delivered outside of an urgent care circumstance when it is a recommendation versus a directive, which we feel is a very important distinction, and are receiving confirmation from the insurer on that matter. And obviously this is a very evolving circumstance and changing. So as a college, their communication on this may adjust. It is the responsibility of the members to be and regulated health professionals to be keeping a close eye on this information as it's released. That is timely, it's pertinent, and obviously it's extremely important. And just finally, to thank those who have listened in on the webinar today during what is a very challenging situation. We know these are exceptional circumstances and that they're moving very quickly. We're also committed to being here when you need us, and we know that you have many questions coming in. We are doing our best to answer these as quickly as possible and then to share information widely in the days and weeks ahead and provide additional risk management resources and so on. In the meantime, if there's anything we can do, please don't hesitate to contact us. And again, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. On behalf of CDHA, I would like to thank Brian for joining us today. CDHA continues to actively review and assess relevant information for dental hygienists as it relates to the coronavirus pandemic. Please visit cdha.ca/safetyalerts, where you will find a link to the BMS COVID-19 insurance coverage position statement that was reviewed during today's discussion, as well as other updates and information for dental hygienists. Please email your questions to alerts@cdha.ca and indicate video question within the subject line. We will collect your questions until March 27th and provide responses as soon as possible. Please be well and take care of yourselves in this difficult time.